How's it going, everybody? I hope you are having an excellent day. For today's video, we are looking at how I managed to beat my previous record by almost 500 points on my main account. Now we're going to look at each of the attacks to check out how I did it, what I was looking for, which army comps I was using, to hopefully help you max out and be at the top of your clan for the capital peak. So this one is a balloon lagoon, and it is the standard layout. And there is a newly found out specific way with a certain deployment timing and deployment spots that allow you to potentially one-shot this base. It's sometimes easier, sometimes harder, depending on your capital peak level. But that is what I attempted to do. This is my first try, essentially as a capital peak 7 versus the, I believe, level 3 balloon lagoon. So let's take a look and see how it went. You start by deploying the 2 rams and a handful of the wizards, a giant and some skeleton barrels to tank. There was a trap there, so I used another ram to try and pop it. Already I've sort of mistimed things, so it's definitely not going to be a full 100% clear, but it's still going to be good enough to get very, very close. So essentially everything on the right side here is they're going to be able to push through the remainder of this section. The only thing I'm going to do is I'll drop a ram to open up these walls, and then I'll drop a barbarian to help tank for these 2 defenses in case the wizards run out of skeletons to tank for them. Now on this side, you send in a dragon. And the goal for the dragon is to take out these rocket artilleries. Send in a ram to help tank to avoid the first shot. And then we drop the rage to try and help blast through that section. So now we're going to try and watch both sides at the same time. We can see there's getting really close to where the wizards need some extra tanking. Dropping the barb. Gets there just in time. And the dragon on the left side, I was worried it wasn't going to take out the rocket artillery, so I used a lightning. And now we're down to 1 wizard, which is not ideal, but sometimes you got to roll with the punches. Got to use what's available to you. So we know that the skeletons are going to bust through this wall. Super wizards are going to get a little bit more value. Try to send in a long distance ram to help tank for the wizard, and it kind of works. But you can see already, like, we are at 5,500 points, and this is on 1 attack. So we've cleared the majority of this base, which is very, very cool. Not too much is left. In theory, I believe a skeleton barrel could take out the Tesla, and then if everything tanks for itself, you're able to push through this last section from the troops from the very beginning. It's crazy. But in this 1 attack, got 6,185 gold. It's crazy. So on to the next one. I went on to, wasn't able to do any more of that raid because that was very early in the morning, right when the raid weekend came out. So then I went with a cleanup attack on the Golem Quarry. So this is nearly a what you want to call it. It's a very simple layout. The base layout, usually there's all of these trap or defenses on the side here. So the defenders have moved some stuff around, but there still is not that much air targeting defenses. And the ones that are, you can very easily snipe them with some rocket loons. So I brought in one barbarian to clear this little hut here, just to get that out of the way. Then drop in the flying fortress to start tanking. Drop in a bunch of the rocket loons and a heal to try and take out that portion of the base. Because all that's left for here is the two bows and then the rocket artillery. So I dropped in some extra rocket loons as the fortress is leaving the heal to try and get the artillery taken out, because I definitely don't want the flying fortress to die. So now we're moving on to the next portion. Use a zap, try to reset the blast bow, and then sneak in some of the rocket loons. So this is very close. It is just the flying fortress left, and it has just enough hit points to get through these last two defenses. It's like one more hit. If it had launched one more air bombs, it might have killed the fortress, which would have been very sad, because you miss out on the housing space that gets you the extra gold. So now it's just a matter of cleanup. Destroy the hall, and then move on to these buildings over here. And you'll see that at the end of this, there is some nice bonus gold. An extra 100. So we got 3,690 from one attack, which is very nice. Let's see. Then I went with the Barbarian Camp. I always love hitting the Barbarian Camp. It has the most amount of loot that you can usually obtain in as few attacks as possible. As a Capital Peak 7, you pretty much have to use 3 attacks to clear this out. Now we have just gotten to Capital Peak level 8, and I've been trying to test this raid weekend if it's possible to hit it. Trying to see how much with the first hit can be cleared and how the rocket loons do on the second hit. A little bit of a spoiler, but that is the game plan. So this attack, we're using, in my opinion, the best way to start attacking a base, which is the sneaky archers. A few rams to help open up the walls, and then you want to use rages to help speed up the process, because the sneaky archers have to be deployed one at a time, otherwise you have the chance to get hit with mini traps or multiple AoE hits from defenses, and you want them to get as much value as possible. So the goal here is we're trying to push towards this rocket artillery, because that is deadly versus the balloons. So got 9 packs of archers left. We're gonna start to help clear out these defenses while in the rage, and then grab whatever else we can. Now these giants are kind of causing an issue for me, because I wanted to try and get down to these air bombs, but of course there is a trap, and then I deploy another group, they go for the giants, deploy another group, they go for the giants. Just not having much luck. So we got 2,300, which is not the greatest, but typically you will get less gold on your first hit as you're trying to set up the base. So now I do deploy some of the archers to get the air bombs. And then I try to take out this top section. Use the zaps on the left, rapid rockets, and air defense. But with the level 3 balloons, they're just not quite tanky enough, and they don't quite deal enough damage to burst through all the defenses. So the idea is to then use the remainder of the balloons, get out these air defenses and spear throwers, but you can see they're starting to really slow down. This air defense is just demolishing them. But we are destroying a lot of the defenses, which is what gives you the most gold and points. So we have one spear thrower. It is going to town on these balloons. And then we have one minion. So the balloon definitely dies out, and then the minion gets a few more of these trash buildings. Not gonna watch one minion attack all of these little huts. That would be very tedious indeed. But we managed to get 3,585 on this attack. It was a decent test. So then we move on to the third raid, and we go in for the Barbarian Camp once again, using a very similar composition for the first hit. As many archers as we can, and as few rams as possible, just to open up the different walls where we think that it is needed. Use the zaps on these left air targeting defenses. Yeah, this base is a little bit different. Can get more access to these spear throwers at the start, but it has a more well-protected rocket artillery. So we're just dropping in the archers one at a time. But just so you guys know, the best way to get the most amount of points when you are a capital peak level 8 is to take out the Barb Camp in 2 hits. So it's a lot easier with a little extra housing space for more troops, and then once you get the extra spell storage and all the extra levels for your troops and spells, you are able to clear usually half the base on the first hit, get the majority of the air targeting defenses, and then on the second hit you can just slam it with the rocket balloons. So we use the lightning to take out those air targeting defenses. Use the extra on the other ones, the rapid rockets. And so now we are trying to get to that rocket artillery as fast as possible, take it out. But there is quite a lot of defenses left. So I am realizing this, and instead of trying to send in a whole bunch of them and hope that they get through that section, I know that they'll eventually die out to these air bombs over here. So I really just want to try and clear as much as I can so that whoever hits it next can have a good chance to take it out. So that is it. The last balloon here is taking out that cannon, and now it is going to its death to the air balloons and the air bombs and the Tesla. So we got a couple barbs left. I was going to use them for cleanup depending how well it went, but we were unable to get through this section of air targeting defenses. So the first hit picked up was just over 2,000, and then on the second hit we get this last multi-mortar die to the giants, and we get 3,400. So those are all of the attacks I did, and how I was able to break my own record. Of course, there is a lot more room for improvement, but the goal is to get up to around 24,000 as a capital peak level 8. So you're then able to have enough strength to 2-shot most bases and sometimes 3-shot the capital peak. If you liked this video, be sure to subscribe if you want to see more of my videos. And then if you want to see more Capital Peak and more Clash of Clans videos in general, make sure to hit the like button. Thank you so much for watching, and until the next one, take care.